Hey YouTube, we're here with a very specific Yu-Gi-Oh video. Maybe that's probably not relevant to 90% of my audience because I know everyone plays Master Duel, but this is somewhat of an interesting topic that I would like to cover because I think most people never talk about siding too much. Why? Because I guess it's a trade secret in Yu-Gi-Oh! So this video we're going to cover siding quickly in at least paper Yu-Gi-Oh! And in a best of 3 format. So yes, of course, if you like this kind of content, please leave a like, comments up, all that fun stuff. Don't worry, the Ray stickers, I still got a stack of them. Kind of, not really. I mean, it's kind of getting kind of thin, not thick anymore, as you can see. I've been sending them out. So yeah, please fill out the form down below for replays and all that stuff. Don't worry, I'll get to them when the new ban list hits. Because I tried getting some gameplay and it's all tournament, and you know, it's kind of just not fun, right? We'll get back into it when the ban list hits all the yugioh shufflers for the most part. All right, so what is siding? Why does it matter? Why does it matter? In my opinion, it's probably the most important skill in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, because it can help you win games, especially on the first one if you lose, right? Or further cement your easier, you know, game 2 win. And for some reason, I think a lot of other YouTubers never ever talk about this process, especially in deck profiles, right? You'll see the deck profile, they'll show side deck, but they just kind of either assume you know what the side out, or they never give any reasoning of what the, you know, side in and side out and stuff like that. So I'll go over it with you right now based on, I don't know, a lot of regional experience and locals and just messing around with siding, because it's very, very important. Again, probably not relevant to 90% of my audience I know who plays Master Duel. But at the moment, if you know already, doing the Sky Striker tournament thing, the time this recording is about to be top 8. So if you watch this video, maybe you'll learn the intricacies of siding. And you'll never know, maybe you'll play in a Master Duel tournament or something, and then they'll have siding in Top Cut, but then no siding in Swiss for some reason. But hey, whatever. We'll break it down. Obviously, I'll have in sections. So you can quickly reference what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, so what is a side deck, right? Very stupid question, but there are no stupid questions here. You might get stupid answers instead. A side deck is a 15 card, not extra deck, because that's where your extra deck monsters are, but like another deck or cards where you can switch out from your main and extra deck. But I don't recommend you do any switching out of your extra deck. But basically, you can switch out cards from this deck to that deck, so long as you have the same amount of main deck cards and same, you know, amount of side deck cards after you side in and out. The purpose of a side deck is to help you cover the weaknesses of your main deck that you are playing in game 1. So in this example, of course, Sky Striker, I know that Sky Striker's weaknesses is probably something like untargetable monsters. I already do play some in my main deck to cover that weakness, but in case I need some more, of course, we got Herald of the Abyss, we got Lightning Storm as board breakers, evenly matched, etc, etc, right? Because I know Sky Striker's weaknesses is like big boards, combo, and then potentially floodgates. So that's something I would put in my side deck to cover that weakness. Of course, if you're playing another kind of deck, like for example, I don't know, like a combo deck or a back row heavy deck like Labyrinth or something, you might want to load up on additional board breakers too, because maybe if you're forced to go first, or you might load up on stuff like Solemn Judgment to prevent getting hit by a board breaker itself. You know what I mean? Side deck's purpose is to help cover your weaknesses of your main deck. Very simple reasoning there. So now you're probably wondering, what do I side? I'm gonna break it down into 2 parts of your deck, right? If you haven't noticed already, you'll see that this top portion over here are non-striker, non-engine cards, and you'll see here the other half is my Sky Striker archetype engine cards, if you will, right? So I would say that you almost 99% of the time would never side out anything that is considered engine or your archetype cards, right? You'll side out your non-engine, you know, non-Sky Striker cards. Why? Because obviously you need your engine cards in order to play your deck. So non-engine cards, of course, can be anything that basically isn't whatever your deck is. So non-tournament cards if you're playing tournaments. And in this case, you know, your handies, your board breakers if you're playing any like kaijus or something like that, consistency cards, back row removal, and then what I like to call, I guess, the power one-off cards that we all know and love, right? Like terraforming, triple tax talent, etc., right? Those are cards that are considered non-engine, and this section is where you're probably going to side out cards. Now, having said that, I know I just said you'll never side out your engine cards. Sometimes you might want to do that because sometimes your archetype has very specific cards for a very specific purpose. For example, in Sky Striker, we have Shark Cannon, which is a banisher, right? Maybe you're playing against a deck that doesn't do anything in the graveyard. So for example, I don't know, like Gravekeeper. If you're playing Gravekeepers, right, they're gonna have Necro Valley on the field. Shark Cannon is probably gonna be useless. You might want to side that out. Another example maybe is Area Zero. You think it's completely useless in that matchup, take it out. Same thing with Hamp, right? Hamp is probably the prime example for Sky Striker because you might play against like a back row heavy deck where Hamp, sure, you can like tribute their Outlet or Big Lady Labyrinth, right? But do you really want to have that over, say, another board removal or back removal card like the Cyclone or an Evilly Matched, something like that, right? So those are just very specific circumstances where you'll side out your engine cards. However, again, rule of thumb is that you're probably not going to side out anything that is considered engine cards, okay? I would also say, in terms of priority of what you side out regarding in your non-engine part, I always try to side out your generic searchers, you know. So for example, in this case, it would be like a Rhoda or terraforming, right? And then in that terms of priority, you'll probably side out something like hand traps that might be useless in this specific matchup. For example, if we're playing against back row heavy decks, Jordan Lockbird, probably not that great, right? They're probably only going to search once anyways, so you can probably remove the Jordan Lockbird. But generically, you would always try to side out your searchers first. And if you were playing something like Upstart, that's another prime example that you would side out. So we'll go right now as a prime example of what you would side out, right? So let's say I'm playing against a back row heavy deck. I already have a lot of back row heavy stuff in this deck anyways, but let's say I just want to side out some more, for why not, right? So like I said, you want to side out some generic searcher cards like Rhoda and Terraforming. So we'll side in stuff that we know is great against back row, so our Lightning Storms, and there you go. We can swap cards, and that's how you side, right? Obviously, Paper Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not that simple. You have to physically do it, but that's just an example. For what I would side out, side out and side in if I know I'm playing against like a back row heavy deck. For example, let's say now I'm playing against like a combo deck, right? Same kind of reasoning. These two cards, no, oh wait, I need another third card. Say I'm playing against Purely before, I guess, Manless or something, and I want to side in 3 Herald of the Abyss, because remember, when you side against a specific matchup or a deck or whatever, you probably want to side in all 3 copies and not just be dumb and only side in 1 copy, because that's the point of the extra deck, right? You want to see the card that you want to side in. So we have 2 here. What would I side out in this example, right? Maybe leave in the comments down below, right? What could I side out? Now, I know Purely, for the most part, the handies we have right now, probably good, right? So if I was playing Desires, I still think maybe you can probably side it out, but in this case I'm playing Prosperity in this particular version. Prosperity, what makes it so good is of course that you can search up to 6 cards in your deck, right? So more than likely you're going to be able to search into, say, your Herald of the Abyss or whatever other board breaker or side deck card. That's what makes this card so good. So we probably don't want to side these out because we want to see our side deck cards. So in that case, if I really have to think about it in terms of what is the least important card at the moment right now, I would probably want to side out a Harpy's Feather Duster, because I'm pretty sure Purely is not going to play that much back row anyways. The Kaiju, like Hamp and Kaiju, probably useful in tributing their stuff, so we don't want to side that out. And then we'll probably side that Harpy's Feather Duster out, because I don't want to side out the back row just in case to say they choose to play, I don't know, anti-spell or something like that, because you also have to keep that in mind as well. Remember, your opponent is also going to side against you, so there's a little mind game going on where you kind of have to predict what they're going to side in, so you can also counter that while making sure they cannot counter you. So that's what I would side in if I'm playing something like specifically very combo, oriented like a Towers-esque kind of deck. So there you go, that's what I would side in. Remember, rule of thumb, you side out generic searchers first, and then maybe use like a useless card that, or not useless, you know what I mean, like a card that you know is not going to be as impactful in terms of the matchup in particular, right? So there you go. Now we'll go over it in like the specific paper hand part, which you'll see later, but siding should not take you more than maybe 3 to 4 minutes, or 5 minutes at most, in my opinion. 5 minutes seems like too long for me, or too long in general, but I know some of you guys have sweaty palms, sweaty hands, and are clumsy with your hands, so I understand that. I'm sympathetic towards that. When you're siding in real life Yu-Gi-Oh, it should take you 1 minute at most to find the cards to side out, and then also maybe 3 to 4 minutes to power shuffle, which I will also show you how to do, or how I do it, right? How I do it. And I have, I guess, a skill or something, because for some reason I always double up on everything. Like for example, if I'm playing 3 Ash, my opening hand's gonna have like 2 Ash in it. Or like, you know, double and Gag, I want to open up with double and Gag. It happens more frequently than I feel like it should, but that's maybe a skill or luck on my part. I'll show you guys how I power shuffle. Alright, so now we'll go into specifically what you should put in your side deck. Remember that you cannot, I guess, have 100% coverage of everything, right? It's almost impossible unless we're in like a tier 0 format. In that case, your side deck's probably going to look identical to every other person's side deck, which makes it, I guess, less fun, right? Because tier 0 formats aren't really that fun, unless I guess you're playing the tier 0 deck, like tournaments right now. But you want to have cards that can cover as much as possible without sacrificing like specific matchups if you happen to run into them. Like right now, for example, a deck that will probably screw me right off the bat is maybe excuse me, sorry about that. The deck that will probably screw me right off the bat is maybe something like, I don't know, Magical Musketeers, right? Because yeah, I guess hiding judgments, but you know, if they maybe go second, I'm kind of screwed. Evenly matched doesn't really do anything against them. And dare I say, even maybe the mirror match, if I play the mirror match, it would be probably pretty bad, right? Sure, I guess Side and Herald do best, but it's not exactly the greatest. So that's one issue there with side decking. So you gotta find cards that can hit a coverage of a range of decks, if you will. And that's part of the fun, right? Especially in a paper Yu-Gi-Oh! So if your deck is built going second, such as in this example, Sky Striker's probably better going second by a little bit at the moment. We'll see how the meta shapes up. You're probably gonna have more going first cards, right? Or things that will cover your Sky Striker deck's weaknesses. So for example, you'll see that, you know, I got deep barriers, I got judgments, I got the extra cyclone. I could also play there could be only one and stuff like that, but I feel my main deck is good enough in the case that we're going first on game 1. And obviously if your deck is built going first, such as a combo deck, maybe you'll probably want to side in some going second cards, because if you win game 1, more than likely your opponent is going to go first, and so you'll probably have to break their board. This is also another kind of unspoken, like, you know, game theory kind of thing, but if you win game first or game 1, more than likely your opponent is gonna go first, right? So with that knowledge, you'll probably want to side in things for going second, because remember, your opponent or whoever, you know, loses game 1 tells you they want to go first or second after you're done siding. At least, you know, if you're a confident duelist. I know back in the day when I first started out, I was like, oh, I'll go first, and then we start siding. Like, oh, okay, then the guy's gonna put in like, you know, a bunch of like board breakers and stuff, then screw me. So there's also that you might want to keep in mind. In my opinion and my advice, if you are a going first deck and you lose game 1, stick to going first. Don't be like 200 IQ and say like, oh, you can go first and build up on board breakers. I feel if your deck is a going first deck, that's his strength, right? Play to that and make your opponent play to you instead of you playing to them. I know it's very confusing. Basically, I'm saying trust no one but yourself, right? Trust no one but yourself. If you're a going first deck, when you side, go first in game 2 if you lose, right? If you're going second deck and you lose game 1, same thing, right? Your opponent might think you're going to be stupid and like go first something, but stick to it, right? Play at your own terms is what I'm trying to say, especially towards side decking. Also, you're probably wondering, Kevin, should I side in, should I put like extra deck monsters in my side deck? In my opinion, you should not. Remember, you got 15 cards in your extra deck. You got to figure out like what to take in and take out. Don't do that, because I can't think of any real specific extra deck monster that will help you win game 2 and 3, aside from you being a little bitch boy or a girl and trying to play for time rules. Which, hey, hot take, right? I think if you put any of those kind of cards in your side deck, I think you are just trying to throw the match and you're not playing, honorable Yu-Gi-Oh, if you will, right? If you're a good duelist, I feel like you're gonna know how to play at your own pace and not get screwed by time rules, right? And if you gotta rely on time to win, what are you doing? Well, at that point, might as well just play like an FDK or like burn deck, because either you win or you just lose. Yu-Gi-Oh, I feel, is fun when it's interactive, and time rules and all that stuff just brings the fun, just removes the equation of fun, right? Especially if you jokingly try to do that, right? Seriously, try not to win that way. Honestly, I feel most of my games never reach to that point, especially now. I know initially when I was first playing Paper Yu-Gi-Oh, I was like, oh, I'm a little scared, scared Cindy or something, right? So I'm playing like really slow. I don't know what to do. Oh, right? But if you know how to play your deck, time is not going to be an issue. I promise you that, right? Especially now, even when I play at locals, like me and my opponent, we're either done like half an hour early or like we have a good 10 minutes before the round is over. So that's the basics of side decking. Of course, leave some questions down below. I will now switch to the real life portion of it, where I'll show you a neat trick of how I side, because obviously in like digital Yu-Gi-Oh like this, you just click, swap cards, we're done, right? You have no idea what I side, because I obviously can't show you. You won't see the screen. But if you play real life Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Real life Yu-Gi-Oh, that's completely different. So we'll move on to that right now. All right, everybody. Excuse the poor quality of the camera, but I figured I'd rather do this rather kind of like guerrilla style. Okay, so here's main deck, right? Here is side deck. As you can see, it's not exactly the same as the one you just saw in the video, but this is just for demonstration purposes. So 15 cards, right? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 card extra deck, or 15 card side deck, about 40 card, I think 40 card, yeah, 40 card main deck. So we're going in game 2, and either you lost or you just won. So now you got to side in some cards. See, most people will probably just do this. Look, here's what most people will probably do. They'll probably do this. They're like, oh, what do I side out? What do I side out? Just for example, oh, I'll do this, this, and this. Now, I'm a bit of a looking Larry, if you will. Looking Landy, right? Try hard Andy right here. I will always try to look at my opponent's hands and deck to see how many cards they side out, because 99% of people do this. You'll see that they side out 3 cards. Now, I feel like side deck cards are fairly generic at this point in Yu-Gi-Oh, where you can kind of guess, oh, they're siding out 3 cards. I wonder what 3 cards they would side in. So if you're playing against like a back row heavy deck, they might side in some anti-spells. So I'm like, oh, 3 anti-spell, I could see that. Or 3 evenly matched. I'm betting it's probably 3 evenly matched or something like that, right? You're never gonna see like some wild card like, oh, they're actually siding in 3 golden boys. They're not siding in 3 blue eyes or something. You know what I mean? So we're gonna see 3 cards. If you see 3 cards like this, I'm gonna know that you're siding in probably evenly matched anti-spells or something like that, and I'm gonna counter side to account for that. So 99% of people, I feel, do that. In my opinion, you should probably not do that. Again, maybe it doesn't matter, but any kind of advantage you can get will help in the long run. So I don't do that because, like I said, you know, I see 1, 2, or like they're obviously gonna be something else, like, oh, 3, and then you're gonna put their main deck down like this, right? And then they're gonna go here, and they're like, oh, okay, 1, 2, 3, like that. You saw that? So I'm like, all right, 3 of something card, you took out 3 of that, so I'm gonna know that exactly what you sided, or at least not exactly what you sided in, but like have a good feeling of like, oh, they're siding in 3 cards, probably like evenly matched or something, especially against my deck. So here's what I do. Now I learned this from a good old Billy Break, you know, the guy who commentates all the time for Yu-Gi-Oh. Here's what I do and what he recommended, or what he did. So you put your side deck on top of your main deck. Now I know it's very thick at this point, so now your opponent really has to pay attention to you. Now keep in mind they're probably siding at the same time, but you know, you can multitask, right? So here's what he does, or what he recommended. He would just take out, you know, whatever you're gonna side in. So here, put it up there, and then put it there, right? Put it in real quick so that, oh, they don't know. And then you'll take out the 3 cards that you want to side out. For example, right? 1, 2, 3. And then if you want to be 200 IQ about it, you just do some fakes, right? Use some fakes, put some cards in here, like, oh, I'll side in that card. And then you go back there, maybe not, I'll put that back. There you go. Also, another fun way for you to keep track of what you side in and side out for post game, right? So there you go. We saw 1 upside down card, or these 3 cards are normal facing up, if you will, and then there you go. My side deck cards are upside down, so we can look through it. Ooh, I side in this, I side in that, I side in where's the other one? Up here somewhere. There you go. So that's how I side. Maybe it does not matter whatsoever. Maybe you want to say, Kevin, you're just wasting time, but this is how I side. Maybe it'll help you in the long run. Again, probably 90% of people who play Master Duel, and obviously digital, you know, non-cardboard Yu-Gi-Oh! Does not apply to you. But hey, maybe you learned a new trick up your sleeve, and maybe it'll help you win game 2 and 3, or maybe game 2, right? So there you go. So that's how I side in real life. Now we'll go over how I power shuffle, and maybe that will help you too. So here's how I do it. I like to do stacks of 8. So for example, always face down. You don't want to do face up, because then your opponent's gonna know what you side in or something, right? So you gotta fold them like this, right? Also, maybe keep track of how many cards in your main deck. So I like to do that in a clockwise kind of fashion, right? There you go. Leave it up to Raw, Slifer, and Obelisk at this point. Yeah, you guys liking this cardboard ASMR? I hope so. I hope the lighting isn't too bad, because my place has been dealing with electrical problems. All right, so there you go. All right, that should be 40. I hope. I don't know. And then I just do this on first stack, right? First stack. Remember, this should probably take you about 3 minutes at most, 4 minutes at max, right? So do that. Give it a couple shuffles, right? 1, 2. I like to do 7 because that's somewhat of a lucky number, but never mind. I actually do 8. I think it's 8. Let's see. Was it 6? 7? Let me know in the comments if I actually went like over 8. So then halftime. Give it to your opponent to cut. Always cut. Don't be like dumb and like, oh, tap, because remember, there's a lot of cheating scandals in Yu-Gi-Oh, etc., etc. And then, you know, you declare whether you want to go first or second. If you lost, obviously your opponent lost, they would choose, and then draw. Let's see if we get lucky. 1, 2. Hey, see, we drew it. Drew our side card. That's how you do it, gang. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment, sub if you haven't already. Hopefully this is helpful. I don't know. A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTuber people never talk about the reasoning for siding, but hopefully this is something for you to keep in mind if Master Duel, or if you ever play a tournament or something, with siding involved. So it is a skill. It takes time to develop, but you know, if you break it down to simple things like I just did, hopefully you'll be siding in no time. All right, see you guys around. This is my outro song for free YouTube monies. Give me some likes and sub for me, please.